Oh, hello, all you viewers. This is Ben C coming at you with another VacMedic. Today I have, or this video is going to start out with a little bit more of the process finished, but there is no need to worry. There will be, after this video, or this series is finished, this is part 3, by the way, if I didn't mention that. After this series is finished, I will be working on another one that is extremely close. Now, in the previous videos, I stated that I do not know the exact model. And while technically that was true, and I don't remember which video, obviously it was only 2, but it was a couple of days ago now, but, excuse me, in that video, I showed the model tag, or the serial plate that's been stamped and whatnot, that doesn't wipe off with brake cleaner, a little bit of brake cleaner. But it is the model Sanitronic 7. So this was the model right before the Kirby Dual Sanitronic 50, which was basically sort of an improvement of sorts. And also, another thing that I should probably mention is you'll notice that originally that there was the front plate right here was hanging off. I fixed that, well, I disassembled that because I needed access to the rear bearing, which is packed in there. And I have a trick for getting that out that I will be showing, but probably not in this video. I mean, not likely. And one moment while I attempt to find the part. Alright, so here is the part. I hope you can forgive the bright light. Here is the part that I was speaking of. Basically, this is the speed selector. This Kirby was the first Kirby to have, apparently, from what I recall, this is the first Kirby to have had speed selector / safety switch. So, and there was one before this that was the 562, model 562, which was the previous model. Almost identical. I actually have the previous model's cord, which is sort of like this horrifically, kind of fugly colored cord. I mean, it's pretty gnarly looking. I mean, you can see, realistically, it's kind of, I let my hand, if my body heat warms it up too much, it kind of gets sticky, so I'm kind of hesitant to work on this. There is a tear in the outer jacket of the cord, but I can fix that with some heat shrink and hot glue. I'll have to get back to you on that, on how well that works, but for now, yeah. So there's that, and this was the cord that came with it when I obtained it. And so, basically, yeah, that's really, I mean, other than one thing that I clearly have not found, you know, but if you do decide to follow this as tutorial, you want to make darn sure that you are careful, because if this has not, unless this has been refurbished, and even then I'm not sure because of, well, I don't have a refurbished version. Basically, you want to make sure that you basically take pictures of where the cables went. This one is extremely simple. I'm kind of actually embarrassed that I felt that I should need to take pictures, but then again, you know, better safe than sorry. There's one black wire, one red wire on the safety switch. The power switch has some what appears to be loose, but I mean, these aren't molded in, so that makes kind of understandable why they're not solid, you know, especially with all the vibration and such. But back to this. This is a 1960s unit, I think. Early to mid 1960s, maybe very, very late 1950s, doubtfully, but around the early 60s. So yeah, the volume, that's, actually, is that? Oh yeah, this is, one nice switch. Catalog number 58, 6 amp, 125 volt, 3 amp, 250 volts, under lab, ink listed, M9, yeah, mfg .mfg.co.inc, Valparaiso, and basically, I'll put this on video. Any of you people who are interested in stuff like that. Sorry about this. I'm trying to, you know what? Here. Sorry about that. Come on. Probably unable to see it. Actually, it was probably better with the torch. Alright, anybody who has sensitive vision, stop now. Alright, you can play now. Yeah, so basically I'm just gonna do this real quick. So pause the video if you missed that, or double tap to one side if you know, and then, in order to be able to pull off the trick that I know, you do have to remove the copper windings. Now, these are very easy to dismount. They're a little bit different story on physically removing them from the housing. All you need to do is undo 2 slotted screws. These surprisingly did not give me any trouble. They literally just slid right, came right out. But yeah, so there's that. And then what is a suggestion is to remove it. Take, like for example, as I said, a rubber mallet if you are need to go this far, or if you don't have, basically if you need to go this far, or you don't have a bearing puller, a reverse bearing puller, which is basically a reverse bearing puller. Instead of it having 2 jaws or 3 jaws, instead of it being like this, or just like this, 2 jaw with a pin in the center, it's basically like, some of them I think you can find that have like, they basically look like, here, let me see what I can do. Alright, so say this is the hole you need to get into. There's a rod. Think of this as like a piece of, a sheet of metal, and this screw, and there's a threaded hole in it with a rod that has a special conical shaped end that basically you stick it in there and it locks on to the back side of the bearing, to the other side, and then you just twist it and it pulls it out. But with this trick, it's a little bit more crude and a bit more time consuming. Well, yeah, sort of, but it works pretty well, I have to say. So, I have not had a chance to formally try this out, but I do know it works. So, yeah, let's get to it. You'll want to make sure that you keep everything safe. I want to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Also, as I said, if you don't want to replace the bearings because you either can't afford to or don't feel that you need to, because they still got life in them, like I feel, you can, as I said, I use WD-40 to remove the oil out of this, the deceased, I guess, or the decomposing, I don't know, the nasty 1960s oil, or grease, bearing grease out of it. and then it, here, just listen. And I also, have, rinsed it out, so, and you know, this is like butter smooth. I mean, I'm like literally putting no force on that, like, you can see my hands are really not pressing down. I mean, I'm sort of it's sort of sliding on this slick of a surface here. I mean, like, I can't, it's like a fidget spinner. And yes, I'm sure a lot of people who wanted to forget about that trend just got very mad at me, but too bad. I never really caught on. I thought it was a unique and idea that was a very good idea for what it was originally meant to be, but eventually it kind of needed to die because, well, reasons. So I'll be getting to the back bearing in just a moment, but to remove the copper windings with the steel copper winding, steel slats and copper winding setup or part, motor, yeah. You need to remove those two screws that I previously mentioned and make sure that there's nothing in the way that would prevent it from coming out, just sliding out. If you are very lucky and you happen to undo the screws, remove them, and try to just sort of like, you know, wiggle it out. If it slides out, very good. Also, one other thing, make sure that none of the wires that are on this are protruding out and getting caught. You don't want to ruin this. If you ruin this, you have to get an entire new part, and I don't know if, I think you can, but it's kind of pricey, so that, and you know, it's better to just keep what you got unless it's burnt, but yeah. So that, and then I also had to vacuum out, or vacuum. I had to clean out some of the crud in here. You will want to do that if you remove this, the electrical coil. I mean the coil, the copper windings coil, whatever. You will want to vacuum this out, as there's going to be dirt trapped between the wall and the outer side of the coil, or the windings. So that is something you will want to do, because basically electricity and something that's flammable, especially at the temperatures that this can reach, they're not very pleasant. Obviously, you know, you'd have to be very unlucky to have it happen, but it's still, you know, better safe than sorry, because I do, at times when I pull these apart, I will see that there is some burned fluff, I guess. It's not normal fluff gray, it's toasty, I guess. So here is the rear plate to the why am I losing it? To the fan. I'm pretty sure I have another fan. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm still gonna use this one because, well, let's be honest, it's not that bad. It's still usable for quite a long time. So yeah, obviously this should be replaced, but you know, it's got a good bit of life left in it. If you know, I mean, I have, you know, so yeah. So one thing to note: if you do take this off, you want to have this spin this spin this clockwise as if you were tightening it, but also making sure that you have this in one stationary position. You don't want this to move. And what I do is, if I'm lucky and nothing is seized, the threads are seized together or something, I will put some sort of a thin metal, something really stiff in there, and take my plumber's take my not vice grips, channel locks, and spin that grab one of the fins on the fan blades and spin it clockwise. Basically, because this is a left-hand thread, meaning it tightens going left. So instead of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. Don't ask. But it does make sense because the fan spins counterclockwise, which would mean that it would loosen if it were to be hit in the opposite direction, if it was going the same thread style. So without putting thread locker or Loctite, whatever, on it, they just made it a left-hand thread, so in a sense it tightens as it is used. But yeah, so I'm gonna quit rambling and get the stuff I need for this bearing removal. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I'm back, and so I've got this sprayed down because, well, kinda needs to be cleaned off because it's a little sludgy, slime-filled, whatever. So I don't have any napkins, paper towels, whatnot, so I'm gonna use just normal printer paper. I'm pretty sure this will work. If not, we'll see. So I'm going to pause, go to a place where I will not ruin the tabletop, and I will return after these messages from who knows. Alright, so we're at a better place where I can spray the WD-40. Do excuse the, I don't know, 50-plus-year-old transfer paper, but, yeah. So, there's the bearing, and we'll need paper, and some sort of a fluid-esque oil, or lubricant. So you want to rip it into, from what I remember, about these size